Wer billig kauft, kauft zweimal. Whoever buys cheap, buys twice. Every country has a proverb like that. Germany is the one that acts on it, in a shop, on a Saturday, with real money. So, 12 ordinary things a German will not buy at the cheap end, and the reasoning behind each one. Number 9 is not an object at all, and it is the one that costs people the most. Number 12 is the habit that makes the other 11 pay off. Because the cheap version of a thing is never just cheaper. It has a schedule attached to it. A second purchase, a wasted afternoon, a tradesperson you have to call twice. Germans have looked at that schedule and decided not to sign up for it. And to be clear, this is not a claim that German goods are the best on earth. Plenty of German households own plenty of rubbish. What is different is not the manufacturing, it is the buying. The default assumption here, standing in front of two versions of the same object, is that the higher price is buying you fewer future problems, and that future problems are real costs, even though no receipt ever shows them. That is the whole idea. Everything else is examples. 12 of them, starting on your feet. Start with shoes, because shoes are where the whole philosophy is easiest to see. A German buying good shoes is not buying footwear. They are buying a frame that will accept new soles for the next 15 years. The construction matters more than the styling. A welted sole can be replaced by a cobbler. A glued sole cannot be replaced by anyone. Which is why German towns still have cobblers, and why that is not nostalgia. It is demand. A repairable object creates a repair trade. A disposable object destroys it. The shoemaker on your high street disappeared because of what people bought, not because of what people wanted. The arithmetic is unglamorous and completely decisive. 280 euros once, resold 3 times, versus 60 euros 7 times. The expensive shoes are the cheap ones. The German washing machine is the flagship example, and it is genuinely a different purchasing decision from the one most countries make. The premium German manufacturers design and test to a stated benchmark of roughly 20 years of normal household use. That is the maker's own design target rather than an independent verdict, but the target itself is the point. Somebody in that company decided the machine should outlive 2 of its competitors and priced it accordingly. A German household will spend 11 or 1,200 euros on a washing machine without flinching, and then not think about washing machines again until the next decade. And the hidden cost is not really money, it is attention. Every cheap appliance is a small, recurring appointment with your own future annoyance. The research, the delivery window, the disposal, the afternoon lost. Buying well is partly a way of buying silence. German tool culture treats a hand tool as a permanent acquisition, closer to cutlery than to a consumable. The screwdriver is not a screwdriver. It is the screwdriver. It has a place it lives. It will be there in 30 years, and if it wears out, the manufacturer will very likely replace it, because the guarantee assumes the object outlasts the purchase. Watch a German garage or Keller, and you will see the giveaway, the shadow board. Every tool outlined in its own painted silhouette on the wall, so a missing one is instantly visible. It looks like fussiness. It is inventory control, invented by people who intend to still own these things in 2050. And the deeper effect is behavioral. When your tools are good, you attempt the repair. When your tools are bad, you round the screw, lose the afternoon, and buy a new thing instead. Cheap tools quietly convert their owner into someone who replaces rather than fixes. Germans spend disproportionately on beds, and the reasoning they give is almost annoyingly rational. You are on it for roughly a third of your life. It is, by hours of use, the single most used object you own, more than your car, more than your sofa, more than your phone. So the euros per hour maths on a mattress is better than on almost anything else in the building, and Germans do the euros per hour maths. There is also a structural habit worth stealing. The German bed is a system, bought as parts, slatted frame, mattress, topper, each replaceable on its own schedule. When one layer fails, you replace that layer, not the bed. Which is the whole video in miniature, really. Modular things can be repaired. Sealed things can only be thrown away. This is the one foreigners notice within about a day of arriving, usually by accident. German windows tilt. You turn the handle one way and the window opens like a door. You turn it further and the top tips inward for ventilation without leaving the place open to the weather or the street. It is called Drehkipp, and once you have used it, every other window in the world feels like an unfinished draft. Underneath the mechanism, there is serious glazing, commonly triple, sealed hard, heavy in the hand. A German window is genuinely expensive and is expected to last decades, and it earns that back invisibly every single hour in heat that does not leave, which is the pattern behind most German spending. They pay once, upfront and visibly, for something that pays back quietly and continuously. The cheap window is not cheaper. It just moves the cost somewhere you do not have to look at it, the heating bill, arriving monthly, forever. The German kitchen is not usually large or photogenic, and it is often surprisingly well armed. A heavy forged knife, a heavy pan, a heavy pot, all bought once, frequently as a wedding present, frequently still in service when the marriage has its silver anniversary. The weight is not decoration. A forged blade takes an edge and keeps it, and a thick base spreads heat instead of scorching. And the maintenance ritual comes bundled. You do not put the good knife in the dishwasher. You sharpen it. You dry the pan. The object arrives with a set of obligations, and Germans accept them without treating it as a burden. There is something quietly serious in that. A cheap knife asks nothing of you and gives nothing back. A good one demands 10 seconds of attention and repays it for 3 decades. A German everyday bicycle is a different category of object from the bicycle most countries sell. It has mud guards because it rains, a chain guard because you are wearing work clothes, a dynamo running lights that cannot be forgotten, flattened, or stolen because they are part of the bicycle, enclosed hub gears that survive winter salt, a rack because you are carrying something. Not a single one of those is a performance feature. Every one of them is a not having to think about it feature. This is transport designed to be used on a Tuesday in February by someone who is slightly late. That is a much harder design brief than making something light and fast, and it costs more to meet. And so the bike lasts 20 years and gets ridden every day, rather than lasting 3 and living in a hallway. Germans will negotiate hard on the price of a car, and then buy the expensive tires without any discussion at all. The logic is blunt. 4 contact patches, each about the size of a hand, are the only thing connecting 2 tons of car to the road. Everything else in the vehicle, the engine, the brakes, the electronics, can only act through those 4 small rectangles of rubber. Germany also runs a seasonal tire rule, and it is worth stating precisely because it is usually got wrong. Winter tires are required when conditions are actually wintry, ice, snow, slush, not on a calendar date. The popular rule of thumb, October to Easter, is a habit, not the law. So German garages do a brisk trade twice a year swapping wheels, and German cellars contain a stack of tires. It is faintly ridiculous, and it is the single most sensible 400 euros in the entire household. The one Germans are most emphatic about is not an object at all. It is labor. Germany makes it structurally hard to buy cheap trade work. In a substantial group of trades, not all of them, but the ones where bad work is dangerous, you need a master craftsman qualification, a Meisterbrief, to run the business at all. Years of training, an examination, and legal accountability standing behind the invoice. The result is that the German tradesperson is expensive, booked out for weeks, and will tell you plainly that what you asked for is wrong before doing the thing that is right. And this is where the proverb bites hardest. Bad wiring, bad plumbing, and bad roofing do not fail politely, on a schedule, in a way you can budget for. They fail at 3 in the morning, into the floor below. The cheap quote is a loan, and the interest rate is not disclosed. Germans spend heavily on outdoor clothing, and the reason is not fashion or fitness. It is that German life continues outdoors in bad weather by default. The children go outside at school in the rain. The market is outside in November. People walk in the forest in weather that other nationalities would treat as a reason to stay indoors and feel sad about it. There is a proverb for this, too. Roughly, there is no bad weather, only bad clothing. And unlike most proverbs, this one is treated as a purchasing instruction. So the good jacket is not equipment for an expedition. It is infrastructure for an ordinary Tuesday, expected to work for a decade, get repaired, get reproofed, and get handed down, which flips the usual relationship. The cheap jacket does not just fail, it shrinks your life to the size of your house. Germans insure things other nationalities would never think to insure, and they do not buy the cheapest policy. Personal liability cover, Haftpflichtversicherung, is the famous one. It is not legally required, and yet it is close to universal, because the German assumption is that you will one day break something expensive belonging to somebody else, and that this should be an inconvenience rather than a catastrophe. Legal expenses insurance, household contents, occupational disability. The underlying instinct is the same one driving every other item on this list, just applied to misfortune instead of objects. Pay a known small amount now so that you are never exposed to an unknown large amount later. It is not optimism and it is not pessimism. It is a refusal to be surprised. Which, if you think about it, is also what a 20-year washing machine is for. And the last one is not a purchase. It is what happens after every purchase, and it is the thing that makes the other 11 pay off. When a German object breaks, the first question is, who fixes this? Not, where do I buy another? There are repair cafes in most decent-sized towns. Several German states run schemes that pay part of a repair bill. Spare parts for the good appliances are stocked for years, and this is a selling point people actually check before buying. Notice that this only works because of everything else on the list. You cannot repair a sealed unit. You cannot resole a glued shoe. Buying well is not a separate virtue from repairing. Buying well is what makes repair physically possible. So the German proverb at the top of this video is not really advice about shopping. Wer billig kauft, kauft zweimal. Whoever buys cheap, buys twice. It is a description of what an object does to your life after you have brought it home. Look back across the 12 and the pattern is not really about money at all. Every one of them converts an unpredictable future cost into a predictable present one. The shoes, the machine, the window, the tires, the tradesperson, the insurance. You pay more now, once, visibly, and in exchange, you delete a whole category of future disruption you would otherwise have absorbed in small, forgettable, expensive pieces. And the reason it feels alien is that our own version of thrift measures only the receipt. The German version prices the afternoons, the delivery windows, the rounded screw, the 3 in the morning. Those are real, and they are not free, and nobody itemizes them, which is why the proverb survives. It is not about being rich enough to buy good things. Plenty of the most rigorous practitioners of this are people with very little money who cannot afford to buy anything twice. If you want more of how Germany quietly solved things the rest of us are still arguing about, subscribe. And whatever you were about to replace this week, check whether it can be repaired